Welcome to another Future Hamburg talk on hydrogen. Due to the actual situation with Corona in a virtual room, my name is Heinrich Klingberg, and I'm happy to introduce today two speakers, two talkers to us. Jens Meier, Chairman of the Board of Hamburg Port Authority, and Dr. Fabian Ziegler, Chairman of the Board of Shell Germany. Welcome, dear colleagues. Jens, Fabian, we're happy to have you here. From my point of view, the objective today is that probably you introduce us what the strategies are for both of you, for Shell, as well as the harbor economy, the harbor infrastructure specifically, and also regarding hydrogen, what you see as a potential, but also as a requirement. What needs to be done infrastructure-wise, but also specifically with import of hydrogen, how you are preparing to go for this specific technology and what your aims are in doing so. So we're starting with Jens. Jens, many ports around the world have discovered hydrogen already. There's a constant discussion in the Asian market, but also across Europe. What is your assumption? How do you see the situation for Hamburg here specifically? Where do we stand in comparison? Are we already equipped for the future role, a growing amount of hydrogen to be imported but also produced in the harbor? What's your take on this?
Yeah, Heinrich, Fabian, thanks for this meeting. First of all, let me start with, let me call it a few key messages. I think while others are still talking about is already being lived in Hamburg. The port has already done a lot of pioneering work, for example, with shore power and green LNG. And for us, hydrogen is the logical next step. And Hamburg, as the largest contiguous industry area in Germany, maybe in Europe, is ready. And, we figured out in 2030, our industry partners will need around 120,000 tons of green hydrogen. With this in mind, our network in the North Range and with our excellent hinterland connection, the Port of Hamburg is unique to ensure supply and deliver quickly and safely to the companies on the spot. And I think an efficient network needs a perfect connection on water, rail, and road beside the pipeline network, which is existing. And as Europe's largest railway port, we want to use our logistical strengths in the hydrogen sector to serve Germany and all over Europe. And to mention that, I think we did a lot of things in the past, and we have already ensured that we can supply the whole chain. That means production, import, storage, distribution, and consumption in our area. And that's the reason why we think the Port of Hamburg is one of the best, maybe the best area to start this new technology, because at the very first beginning, it's very important to have, import possibilities, but also consumption in one area, and then to start the scaling from that point of
Yeah, so you were mentioning the huge amounts of hydrogen according, for example, to the German industry and the German national hydrogen strategy that are being imported to Germany from other places, like, for example, the Mediterranean. Having a specific look, besides Hamburg being a big producing area, I come back to that later with Fabian, a bit more in detail probably, the infrastructure specifically that is needed. Where are we today and what would be your priorities?
Yeah, we have intensively figured out, what is the need in the port. And the main task was to find out, to identify several areas where both import and storage of hydrogen is possible. And another task was to get in contact with potential import companies and to announce that here also in the meeting, all investors are very welcome in Hamburg. But for most of them, it is important that a partner like the Port Authority is also helpful by clarifying regulations, safety issues with the local institutions, because this is part of our family, part of our expertise, and that is very important for our partners, like it was in the past. And finally, we try to figure out how the bottleneck or the point about the dealing will work in the future. That means, which will be the form the carriers will use. Will it be liquid hydrogen or LHC or ammonia? And yeah, that's the task where we are in.
So you were mentioning we already have kind of a hydrogen family within Hamburg, within the port. Shell certainly is one of the most important members of that family, Fabian, and you're a well-known innovation leader in hydrogen for a long time, and you're really bringing the industry forward. Not only in mobility, but also in other sectors like, for example, industry, or I would assume maritime, aviation potentially. So what are your priorities and how do you step by step approach them? Can you give an idea which sectors will come next?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Heinrich, first of all, and a very warm hello to Jens. And let me start by saying that Shell, and perhaps even more so Shell Germany, is highly committed to the net zero emissions agenda. We think we will have to play the full piano, the full energy piano to get there. But of course, hydrogen plays an eminently important role. Our ambition for Germany is to be a leader in hydrogen, in green hydrogen. We view this as a multi-sector job. We view this very much as an end-to-end job. We look at this in a very systemic way, and of course also cross-border. And for us, Holland is a close friend. And in Holland, we engaged in a number of projects. People may have heard of Nord H2. People will be aware of activities in Rotterdam. And equally, we're in the process of transforming our refinery in Cologne, and the entry into the hydrogen economy plays a big role there. In a few months' time, we will take in operation a small-scale electrolyzer worth around 10 megawatts. And of course, this is only a prelude to a much bigger ambition. And this is to serve customers. And of course, customers, we think broadly. As you say, beyond industry, we think of mobility. We envisage the heavy-duty sector to go big on hydrogen, but equally sustainable kerosene will be a key feature of the future. And in the port of Hamburg, we also think already about establishing a filling station for ships. So as you can see, Heinrich, we have quite an ambition to be a leader, and I also believe we have the capabilities to be exactly that.
You mentioned all your activities across Europe, specifically in the Netherlands, of course, where Shell originally comes from. In Hamburg, we are really happy and proud to see that you are a member of a consortium that plans to produce increasing volumes of hydrogen together with partners in the port area. Could you elaborate a bit more on that, what the idea behind is? And time-wise, when will we be there? What will potentially the customers be?
Yeah, of course, Heinrich, with pleasure. And we did form a partnership, and the partnership consists of Vattenfall, Mitsubishi, and Hamburg Wärme. We think it's a very potent partnership, and the plan is to build 100 plus, and I emphasize this 100 plus megawatt electrolyzer. And of course, the objective is to make green hydrogen for industry and mobility. And the timeline is by 2025. And the location we have in sight is the well-known Marburg site, which is a very favorable location to our assessment. It's connected to the high voltage grid. There is an opportunity to connect it to an emerging hydrogen grid via Gasnetz Hamburg. There is ample of space for storage, customer proximity, and there's also a key system which will ultimately enable the landing of ships. So in a way, it's a very, very suitable location. What I like about this project is many things. It's a very embedded project. It's highly customer focused. It's very demand led, and as we spoke about earlier, it's a multi-sector project. Of course, like several other green hydrogen projects, it'll be reliant on support, which is why we applied for the IPCEI scheme. And we did this in a quite innovative way. There's a composite approach connecting, I think it's 9 different projects that really kind of visualize a whole end-to-end hydrogen system that sort of connects the green power capability in Hamburg with the electrolyzer, with the gas grid, and then many of the potential applications in the port, also like Jens mentioned. And I have to say, the consortium is very grateful to the support of the local authorities, the authorities for the economy, but also the environment. The collaboration, I think, is very good. And we do believe it is a real top project. It is substantiated, and there's again a really potent group of companies behind it. So very keen for this to really happen.
Yeah, just to highlight 2 points I think that are important. One is, Jens mentioned that also, that from the very start of the project, we will already have partners involved that guarantee a demand, a growing demand on a constant level, which is always very important. I've seen many hydrogen projects that at the end were not capable because demand was missing. So we have that right from the start with the industry. And the other one is that we have all these partners in the port area in a real proximity. So they are very close together. We can use the infrastructure, like, for example, the gas grid that will be converted. So perfectly fine and a good example how a sustainable economy could be set up. But coming back to Jens, you were mentioning, besides, let's say, infrastructure at the quayside, storage facilities, the question of logistics. So you were saying when it comes to imported hydrogen, you are not only willing but also capable to set up an immediate transport system via rail, via road. Could you probably explain where we are today and what you're heading for there?
Yeah, the situation is like this. As already mentioned, one of the partners in Hamburg is Hamburg Wärme and also Gasnetz Hamburg, and they are, trying to distribute the local area. But with our perfect partners, like, for example, TG, that's a tank wagon company, they are already able to transport hydrogen. They have already patented that, and so we think in the combination with the excellent hinterland network on the railroads, together with the expertise of our partners, with this one example, we are, we have a perfect fit. And on the other side, we also have, companies which the ability to store hydrogen in different forms. Shell would be one of them, but we have oil tanking, we have EBOS in the port, and also air liquid and also air products. Just to mention some, And the strength of the area of Hamburg and the port of Hamburg is that in the history and also today, this kind of partners, they like to work together. They combine their strengths, and we think the key for success is that's not just one company to try, which try to serve the world. It's partnering, put the strengths together, be quick enough, also on the storage and the supply side, and with the deep sea port, with deep sea berths at the location of Moorburg, it's already mentioned, but also feeder vessels can go there. We have the possibilities for small and large vessels to get hydrogen in different forms also into the port to the right location, and jetty experiences are already also there.
Yeah, and I would again think that probably when we discuss what form of aggregation of hydrogen we will have, that at this point of time, liquid hydrogen is probably the most favorable one, having a second look probably at ammonia later, following, for example, like in Japan.
Yeah, we will see. I think this will be resolved very soon. I think one point has to be mentioned. Our Minister for Economic Affairs, he's a hydrogen expert. He's absolutely pushing that topic. He's in close contact with the federal minister. That is also very important for this kind of new things. And with our international partnerships, you already mentioned our friends from Port of Kobe, Masaharu Shinohara, a good friend of mine. He's leading the port. We always have the chance to exchange their knowledge with ours. We look at best practices. They are familiar. They are already handling ammonia. And they built the first liquid hydrogen import terminal, and they are very close to bring their vessel in operation. And that is important knowledge sharing for us, and we will bring these expertise into our partner teams, and that at the end, everybody can learn from these best practices.
So that's really good news that Hamburg is clearly in the focus of your activities. So when we have a look at the situation, for example, across Europe, certainly with the expected growth of hydrogen imports, there will be a cooperation, I understand, with other areas across Europe. Fabian, you mentioned already Rotterdam. I know from Jens that he is well in communication and in contact with internationally and across Europe with all the relevant associations with the harbors that probably are talking about hydrogen themselves.
So I start by saying that Hamburg is really well placed because there's a lot of competence here. But let me take a step back and let me perhaps draw a bit of a parallel with the LNG business. And many of you will know that Shell is a large LNG player. And the first LNG terminals were established in the 60s. And we have now 2021 and we're still building LNG terminals. So equally, I would envisage the whole job of establishing this hydrogen import infrastructure to be a really big job. Let me also say that the problem, or let me call it the opportunity of shipping hydrogen, it's not yet totally resolved, to put it mildly. The whole question of is it gaseous, is it liquid, is it in chemically transformed ways, whether it's ammonia, whether it's methanol, etc. So it is not yet completely landed how this will look like. Jens spoke about activities in Japan. We are a partner in project Hystra. Kawasaki is a partner alongside us there, and it's a lot about the feasibility of this major way to transport hydrogen. In 2021, so later this year, we will receive a first hydrogen ship, and we will learn from this. And there's also works as we speak around the supply chain out of Norway. I do believe Hamburg is really well placed. There's the space, there's the competent players that can deal with things like permits. Permits will be an important issue. The whole access to connecting infrastructure, I think, is really, really great here. The grid connection. If I spoke about pipeline and ship import, I think it's a friendly, positive coexistence of the two.
Yep.
So altogether, my prediction is that Hamburg would be incredibly well placed, and probably one of the features that help it the most is this collaborative, industry-wide thinking that I appreciate a lot in how we do business here.
I don't want to double everything. I just want to add some points. Yes, I'm working in a lot of corporations, associations, and there were formed a lot of working groups. One of them is the World Port Climate Action Program, which came out as a working group out of our IPH activities. It started with World Port Climate Initiative, and now it's World Port Climate Action Program. You know, decarbonization is not a local topic, so we have to work together. And especially in the maritime industry, we need standardization for bunkering and procedures, how to handle the stuff. So it makes no sense that everybody is doing that on its own. We also founded a working group, a technical committee, how we announce that. It's called Climate and Energy. And also there, the main topic is LNG, green LNG, methanol, hydrogen. And we try to exchange our knowledge. And the only thing I would like to point out at the end is Hamburg was always and is again a fantastic starting point for all companies who wants to implement the new change, climate change, and also decarbonization, because consumption and storage and supply chain, is in a very close area here, accessible. And we have the competent partners already here. And I believe, after shutting down a coal power plant, the willingness there coming from the government, and we as, promoters of that, scenery, we will work very hard that Hamburg will play an important role on that with all our worldwide networks. Everybody is welcome.
So, gentlemen, in a nutshell, I understand that from both of your perspectives, the transformation process that we will have in the economy, that we will have in mobility, but specifically in the ports, from what I hear from you, is well underway in Hamburg, especially with hydrogen. That could become a key player in this transition process. You are drivers in this process yourself, so thanks for all your engagement in doing so. Definitely believe this is for the better for the ecology and the economy in Hamburg, and brings both these factors together in a perfect way. So thanks again, not only for being with us today, but in doing so, and hope to hear from the progress you are making very soon. And I'm really convinced in learning from what you have done by now, that we will have a lot of positive surprises in the near future. So thanks again today for being with us, and hoping for a next time. Thank you.